Day 11 of 100 days of YouTube videos. I'm still going. I haven't broken the streak yet. I'm sure I will at some point, but not today. So, yesterday we kicked off our 5-part series in looking at the importance of discovery calls. And I'm just going to recap very quickly on what we touched on yesterday. So, first of all, we talked about the importance of the discovery call and the fact that it's the base of the pyramid. It's the foundation upon which you build your deal, and upon which you build urgency, you generate urgency, you build engagement and momentum around a sale, right? So that is the bottom Lego brick in the stack. That is the Jenga piece that can never move. All right, that is your base, your foundation for your deal. So really, really super important. And we talked about how you prep for the deal, for the discovery process. The fact that you build a hypothesis, you kind of try and understand how you're going to add value. What is your theory as to how you can help your clients to achieve a goal, address a problem, get to a desirable outcome for a problem or challenge they may be having. And prior to the discovery call, the first discovery call, that is, you prompt them, you remind them of the meeting. You do it in two ways. You do a couple of days before, drop them a loose agenda. And then the day before, you attach that agenda to the meeting request, resend the meeting request. That will reappear in their inbox. Gives them an opportunity to make sure they're still coming, so you can flush those kind of people out. And that's the kind of main thing, to make sure they show up. So what you're doing is there's 2 steps to confirm they're actually going to show up. So we prepare, we create a hypothesis, we prompt, we make sure that they are they're going to come, that they're booked in for the meeting, and then we prime. So what I'm going to talk today is about how you open the call and how you prime your customer in a discovery call to actually talk. So first thing is super important is the first 5 minutes of the call. It's how you build rapport. It's creating some energy and some engagement, and gives you an opportunity to read the room. If you're actually in the room, that's great. And if they're a big client, a big opportunity, I'd encourage you to try and get there face to face. But more often than not these days, these things happen on video calls. But it's your opportunity to kind of gauge the individual you're talking to have some small talk ready. I normally like to open with some kind of self-deprecating remark about how I am bad at something, or how my daughter takes the piss out of my new trainers, which she did. She's wrong, by the way, they're fucking incredible. But have something in mind as an icebreaker, and typically have it's going to kind of drive a laugh. People, it's a little bit like being at a wedding. People want to go into meetings and be entertained and energized. And when they rock up, sometimes you'll get the odd kind of try and disarm them. Try and disarm them by being engaging, by making some jokes. Don't have to be, don't go wild, but like a few self-deprecating remarks I find always work. Or even just talking about the weather. I mean, if you live in the UK, like most of my clients do, the weather's a constant source of discussion. So right now it's June and it's freezing. So yeah, break the ice, have a conversation, 4 or 5 minutes. And then as you've done that, and as you feel that rapport building, you pivot to the call, you pivot to the agenda. And typically a really good phrase, and you hear Chris Orlob of P Club and Gong fame use this a lot. We talk about saying, now, can we discuss the agenda, or about the agenda? Recap the agenda that you've sent across. And it really is along the lines of, I'd love to share to you today some information, insight, a little bit about how we help our clients. So that I can do that, I'd like to ask you just a few questions that will enable me to give you the really pertinent and relevant information. And then if there's a fit, we can look at seeing whether it's worth moving forward in this discussion. How does that sound? Does that sound fair? Does that work? Try and get some kind of buy-in. Is there anything you'd like to add? One of the other things I like to do is, and I call it the down to buy question, is I like to ask or position, and actually it doesn't really matter how big the deal is. I like to try and get it out on the table. And I, again, being that self-deprecating thing, and just being transparent, right? I'm in sales, you're a potential customer, we all know why we're here together. Let's not beat around the bush. I do like to ask, or I position it as this, so that I can manage my boss's expectations, my business expectations, whatever it might be. I position it as it somebody else. I'm going to have to manage somebody else's expectations as opposed to tell me if you're going to buy. But so that I can manage my boss's expectations. Are you in have you started a purchasing process, or are you just in research mode? Based on the answer to that question, you can get to an understanding of whether you're right at the beginning, you've got to create it, or whether actually you are one of a number of vendors they're reviewing, however it might be. But this is key because then it gives you a feel to actually then kind of where you take it. So if they're already in a purchasing process, one of the things you'll want to do as part of your call is start to understand their decision-making criteria, and we'll come on to that in another video. If they're not, then this is really an opportunity to educate them, to create value by helping them view their challenges or problems differently, and maybe be more engaged and more interested in the solution that you've got to deliver. Next, it's about earning the right to do your discovery. This is what I call priming your client for discovery. And this is where I typically try and share insights that I'm seeing in the market. Now, this kind of moves, weaves in before you get to kind of asking them questions, but you're kind of positioning what you're seeing. So you're building up to that. And you want to be talking from a position of you're an expert. You do this every day. You talk to individuals like your client every day. You have got a broad, deep understanding of the challenges in this part of the market. You're effectively a consultant. You could be from McKinsey or Accenture for all it matters, because you have that level of knowledge, that level of understanding what's going on, and that level of insight about how clients can address those challenges that they might be seeing and move their business goals forwards. So try and share some industry insights, try and share some knowledge that you have. And this is where I use the Discovery Primer. And so it's, if you're looking out for the P's, it's the Prepare, Prompt, Prime. There you go. I might copyright that. Probably won't, sound shit. But Prepare, Prompt, Prime, so that you're in the priming stage now. And this is where you talk about some of the business challenges that you're seeing. And this is where you talk about some of the kind of root cause of those business challenges. So it's business challenge, root cause. In my world, with sales training and coaching, a lot of the business challenges are around win rates, longer sales cycles, lower levels of self-generated pipeline, because it's that much more difficult to build pipeline these days, and struggling to actually manage your forecast, trying to get deals through to the close, not having to throw crazy discounts at people to try and get things over the line. And then the skills gaps, which are the root causes, are actually the salesperson's ability to question deeply, to get to real pain, to understand urgency, difficulties they might have getting to power, to the economic buyer, talking too much about the product, not enough about the value that it drives to the individual client. And then you ask, does it resonate? Because what you're looking to do there is, and this is kind of like you think about this from like a negotiation perspective, is you're revealing a position to sort of understand the position. So it's a give to get. So you're saying, these are the kind of things I'm seeing. Do these things kind of resonate with you? And this is kind of like where jump starting that conversation and those kind of questions that you're going to ask to get to the root cause of their issue and start to kind of like peel that onion, which we talked about previously, and I'll talk about again. So a tool like this, a one slide or two slide where about your industry, the trends you're seeing and the root cause issues. At this point, we're not talking about the product. Absolutely not talking about the product. This is the issues we're seeing and the root causes we're seeing. And what you're trying to do is see if you can spark some kind of awareness or some kind of recognition in your client to get them talking. And for me, I see these kind of challenges anecdotally, but also, and this is the slide itself, I see I see it in research that organizations do. So let me move this down here. There you go. So this is the state of sales report from Ebster and Pavilion, and it kind of just pulls out all the things I've made, all the things I've discussed. So win rates are down, sales cycles are up, deal values are down. And drop down again to the next slide. There we go. Reps performance, almost 70% missing quota. There is a massively, massive reduction in sales velocity, and almost half of deals slip from their original forecast date because we're not kind of managing those. So I've got data and I've got insight, and I can talk to specific clients that kind of have those challenges as well. So this slide just gives me a really good way of, like I said, kind of jump-starting that conversation. So tomorrow, we're going to jump into actually the questions that we ask. But the purpose of today was really about how you open that meeting. So small talk, create rapport, a bit of levity. If you make someone smile or laugh, it doesn't even really matter how the call has gone, because if you make someone smile or laugh, you've done a good thing. But if you can get their engagement and get their kind of feeling good about the conversation they've had with you before you even start to kind of come into this, that goes a long way. Don't ever forget, people buy from people. Now, businesses buy from businesses, and we'll talk about that another day, but people buy from people, and all things being equal, this is a great Anthony Iannarino quote, all things being equal, relationship wins. So try and build that relationship. If you can't make that relationship work, you've got to make all the other kind of things work, but try and build that relationship work. And then the discovery primer. It is a jump start to the conversation. It creates value. It demonstrates. It puts you in a position of domain authority. It demonstrates that you know what you're talking about. So build a slide or two slides like this about your own market situation, just as a great way to start that conversation. Day 11 in the books. Day 12 coming up tomorrow, where we're going to talk about peeling the onion. It's another P. Prepare, prompt, prime, peel. See you tomorrow.